What is 100 days of discipleship if I don't talk about fasting? Do you have like a proper discipleship training if you have not learned to fast? So I want to talk about fasting. And let me tell you something. Fasting is more natural than people reckon. It's actually more natural than people reckon. I'll give you an example. Just imagine you were eating and you heard, God forbid, that a loved one died. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? In fact, even if I've taught on this years ago, one of my favorite comedians, yes, okay, he said something, that actually buttressed this. He said, imagine, he was joking, of course, yes, okay, jokes. Imagine you were eating and someone told you something sad. If it is sad enough, you're going to stop eating because it's going to be weird. If someone says, my father died, and you'll be like, you don't mean it, you don't say, and then you keep eating. That's going to be very weird, isn't it? And I've always thought on this, that when it comes to fasting, number one, it's more entrenched in our nature than a lot of people realize, and that's why even without any religious motivation, a lot of people have different reasons for abstaining from food for a while. Like if a loved one dies, in Acts chapter 23 verse 12, the Jews gave a vow. They bound themselves to an oath that they will not eat or drink until they had killed Paul. Just imagine such a malicious intent, but it just tells you that people have different reasons and motivations, all right, for abstaining from food. And so the principle behind fasting is this. Listen, this is important. The principle behind fasting is this, that I desire God more than necessary food. Job chapter 23 verse 12. If you focus on the abstinence from food itself, you miss the point. And that's why you have a lot of people who wind up in hunger strikes. You're not eating food, but your absence from food is supposed to be your presence with God, but you're not doing that. You're not doing that. And it has turned to a hunger strike. All right. So the logic is that you desire God more than necessary food. Job chapter 23 verse 12. And so when you look at one of the earliest accounts of anybody fasting, which was Moses on Mount Sinai, you look at what happened there. In Exodus chapter 24, the Bible says from verse 16, now the glory of the Lord rested on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And on the seventh day, he called to Moses in the midst of the cloud. Now, picture this. The sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. So when Moses went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain, and Moses was in the mountain 40 days, 40 nights. Now, listen, it was in that atmosphere. All right. Of course, there's a supernatural and miraculous aspect of this because his natural limitations were suspended. You cannot stay 40 days, 40 nights without water. Maybe without food, but not without water. All right. So this is supernatural. But if this is one of the earliest examples of fasting recorded in the Bible, it just tells you that the principle was not a deliberate attempt to stay without food, but a deliberate attempt to be with God. Do you understand? And when you prioritize, some things, it will usually be at the expense of something else. And that's why at the busy seasons of your life, you just find yourself eating less, not even deliberately. This is the biggest principle of fasting, which is spiritual emphasis and preoccupation with spiritual things. All right. So why you fast is more important than the fact that you are even fasting. I mean, think about it. Exodus chapter 34, the next time that Moses fasted, he prayed in verse 9, if I found grace in your sight, O Lord, let my Lord, I pray, go among us, even though we are a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us as your inheritance. And in verse 28, the Bible says, so he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. Now, look at this again. He had a request that was so pressing, food was not a priority. The Bible did not tell us that Moses even set out to fast. The glory just suspended the fasting, or the desire just suspended the fasting. And this is the main issue. And so the Bible warns us in Hebrews chapter 12 from verse 15. It says, look carefully lest anyone fall short of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up cause trouble, and by this many be defiled, Verse 16, lest there be any fornicator or profane person like Esau, who for a morsel of food sold his birthright. I have so much to say about this. And this implicitly tells you the real power of fasting. Because, why would the writer of Hebrews, for instance, associate fornication with what Esau did? It tells you that lust is one. It has different tributaries, but lust is lust. Either lust for food, lust for sex, lust for money. Lust is lust. And it is developed the same way. Just the same way the fruit of the Spirit finds expression in love, joy, peace. When you have a vibrant spirit, it finds expression in different aspects of your life. The same way, lust, all right? Every time you just find yourself eating everything, even if it is not like you don't have a spiritual goal, but you are not keeping your health goals, you're not keeping your exercise goals. If you have this habit of satisfying everything that calls to your eyes, you are strengthening your flesh. You are strengthening your flesh. And so what fasting does is to emphasize priority. Do you understand what I'm saying? And listen, so for Esau, I must value my birthright. In your case, your destiny in God, more than food. More than food. That's what fasting is. I'm reminding myself that there are bigger priorities in my life. That man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. When you have food and you deliberately choose not to eat, it is a show to yourself and a demonstration to the realm of the Spirit that you have bigger priorities than food. Come on, are you getting this? This is very important. Because, at the end of the day, you can fast and you can miss the purpose of it. Cornelius fasted and he was not born again in Acts chapter 10. All right. So this is what fasting does, to put the body under. To put the body under. And I tell you one thing for sure. If you have any aspect of your walk with God where you are seeing inconsistencies, fasting will work. And someone is wondering, how will abstinence from food help my indiscipline, my sexual indiscipline? Because it's all connected. The fruit of the flesh is evident, which are these. The same underlying principle of lack of discipline, lack of self-restraint finds expressions in different aspects of your life. It might be stronger in some areas, but it is the same expression. All right? And that is why when you start putting discipline in your life, it will find expression in different aspects of your life. I'm telling you this. And that's why fasting is important. And you should make it a point of duty every now and then to fast. All right? Fasting is not a direct instruction to the church, but we can see that it was a culture in the church. So it is implicitly commanded. Paul fasted, 2 Corinthians 6. Jesus fasted. The apostles fasted. Acts 13. All right? There was a culture of fasting. And in Acts chapter 24, from verse 33, Paul literally besought people to eat because they had been fasting for 14 days. So it is part of your discipleship. I call it one of the hard reset principles. If you find yourself lagging behind in your walk with God, or you just find some strange behaviors springing up and you don't know what is happening, just go on a fast. Go on a fast. It will reset everything. And in fact, depending on the severity of the case, usually if you go dry, by the second day, everything will be back to normal. I'm telling you, it's a hard reset. All right. And even better if you make it a point of duty from time to time. Listen, all spiritual principles have practical benefits. You see a lot of health experts even advising people to fast and telling you the medical benefits. Again, the God of the Bible is always right. Always right. Always right. And so this will have many benefits in several aspects of your life. you should go on a fast. So listen, just to make sure you're a doer of the word and not a hearer alone, I want you to put in the comments, when are you going to go on a fast? All right? When next are you going to go on a fast? It doesn't have to be 7 days dry. It doesn't have to be 3 days dry. But make it a point of duty. Even if it's 6 to 6, 6 to 4. All right? 6 to 4, 6 to 2 once in a while. Don't let anybody tell you that's too short. It's discipline, okay? Build the discipline, and more importantly, the consistency. God bless you. If this blessed you, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment to the YouTube algorithm, show more people, and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. This is 100 Days of Discipleship, day 79. We have just 21 days left before we wrap this up. I hope you're being blessed. Share this link with at least 5 people. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.